thrill me.
Wolfman's got nards.
Did you grow up with the NES, PlayStation, Star Wars, cartoons, and 80s TV? Do you like to think who would win in a fight between Batman and the Master Chief? Comics, games, movies, music, and TV. They're gonna tell you everything you need. Superheroes or not, they got your back. They're gonna save the world of geeks. Comics, games, movies, music, and TV. They're gonna tell you everything you need. Superheroes or not, they got your back. They're gonna save the world of This Week in Geek. This Week in Geek.
Hey guys, what's going on? You are listening to ThisWeekInGeek.net's Loose Cannon. I am your host, Mike the Birdman, but I'm not alone as I trek into something a little bit spooky, a little bit B-movie-ish here, as we most often do cover things here on the show that are strange, unusual, a little bit off the beaten path. But I'm joined by my co-host, I don't know what you are. You're just an epic all-around guy, the man in Kitchener.
Alex, the producer.
And from the grand land of Michigan. In fact, what the hell is your state known for?
Wolverines
Cars?
that really aren't here anymore. Two big colleges that have football teams that aren't really playing this year. Well, I mean, they are, but it's not a big deal. I don't know. Cars, yeah.
All right, so...
Well, Cars, it used to be all of our advertisements when it's like, when you see tourism, it's like, come to Michigan, the land of lakes. And we're like, we have lakes here.
And we have more of them.
It's just, I think Michigan has more lakes than anywhere else in the States.
Yes, and we have Lake Michigan, which is the only Great Lake that is solely owned by the United States.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Otherwise, we share them all with you. But I'm Aaron Pollyea.
Yes. So we are here on Twigs Loose Cannon. This is the show where we talk about and celebrate the B movie, be they action, they could be horror movies, they could even be, really crappy love stories at some point. I'm sure we'll get into some 80s schlock at some point here. But in this special edition of the show, we're not talking about Andy Sedaris. We're not talking about something we got from review from Arrow Video or MVD or who the hell ever sends us crap. We decided to do something a little bit special. This is something I've been wanting to talk about on the show for a little while now. I'm a huge fan of this director, but he's only directed 3 movies, and he's done some stuff for TV. He's collaborated on stuff such as the new Predator movie that came out a while ago, and whatever you want to think about that. But I'm talking about the guy who directed Night of the Creeps, The Monster Squad, and the critically acclaimed RoboCop 3. I'm talking about writer-director...
Critically acclaimed?
Yeah, that's right. Critically acclaimed.
The RoboCop movie where RoboCop has to fight a Japanese samurai, and then they use it as a backdoor pilot for a Canadian TV series.
Isn't that the one where he has a jetpack as well?
Yeah.
Yeah. And the only good thing to come out of that was that the crappy Canadian show was made as like a direct sequel.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
So yes, we are talking about writer, director, producer Fred Dekker, and we're going to be talking about some of the movies that he has made, some of the impacts he's made, and he actually does have a connection to the Star Trek franchise, as he was involved as a consulting producer and writer, or not producer, consultant something or other, for Star Trek Enterprise. He also did an episode of Tales from the Crypt, and he teamed up with Shane Black to work on The Predator, which came out a couple years ago with Olivia Munn, Thomas Jane, and who else was in that movie?
It was a bunch of character actors.
One of the guys from Key and Peele or whatever?
Yeah, and the main guy, I'm drawing a blank on his name, but he's the guy that played the really good villain in Logan, the final X-Men movie.
Yeah, so we're going to be talking...
I say final X-Men movie in that I don't count anything that came after.
Yeah, Dark Phoenix did not happen, despite what Disney may tell you. So yes, we are here to kind of talk about these movies, because I know for some of these movies, it's the first time viewing. And
I've never seen any of them.
Yeah,
I've heard of them.
Wow.
That surprises the hell out of me.
Dude, I've still on my list of things to watch. Maybe during Christmas, maybe we'll do a commentary on them. I have never seen Babysitter's Club. I have never seen Weird Science the movie, but I'm a huge fan of the TV show. I have never seen The Goonies.
You've never seen The Goonies? Wow.
No,
I didn't see Goonies until college.
I've seen bits and pieces here and there, and yet I'm like super movie guy that sees everything. I've just never had a chance to watch them.
See, I guess I grew up in front of the TV screen because I hated doing anything outside. So I watched HBO and Cinemax constantly.
So did I, but well, we didn't have that. We had basic, like Canadian cable was different.
It sucked.
I saw a lot of 80s movies. I saw a lot of 90s movies. Like, I mean, more than I would say most people. Like, I'm born in 87, but I saw more 80s movies than almost anybody I knew. Yet the most popular ones were the ones I probably never saw. Like, I didn't see all of Princess Bride probably ever. I've only seen bits and pieces here and there.
Huh.
It's just one of those things. It's weird. It's like my gaps in 80s and 70s movie knowledge is like the popular movies, which is weird.
Yeah, that is weird. I mean, I guess I've probably seen most popular 80s movies, but I would say that it kind of runs closer to schlock than the actual good stuff, just because, the good stuff would have been like high drama and whatnot, and I wouldn't have grown up enjoying that, you know what I mean, as a kid.
I guess to give a bit of background, like I've always exposed to, like, if it's a more mature movie, I probably saw it. Like, one of the first things I remember is watching Terminator with my parents when I'm like 4. And they said, "Oh, don't worry, it's so violent, he won't remember it." I remembered it all. But like, so I watched that, and like other movies. For instance, when I was like 8 years old, my uncle for my birthday got me Blazing Saddles. And then so he would get me like all these R-rated comedies when I was like a little kid. So that was my experience. Everybody else was watching like The Goonies. I was watching Blazing Saddles, and
which I've never seen.
See, I've never seen Blazing Saddles either, which is shocking because I love Mel Brooks.
It's one of the ones that holds it the best to me. But I was getting that. What other one did he give me? He got me that Planes, Trains, and Automobiles for like my 9th birthday.
Oh, sure, that's a good movie. Yeah.
So like, and Uncle Buck, like all these movies that are especially Planes, Trains, and that it's for now it's tame compared to what else is out there. But when we're talking mid 90s for a kid to watch, it was still kind of seeing the uncensored version was a little more than what most kids would have seen.
Yeah, I mean, I get you. I watched as a little kid, the original National Lampoon's Vacation, and there's nudity in that. And parents didn't really see a problem with it because it was just generally funny, and it wasn't really, I don't know. Anyway, I grew up with at least Monster Squad. Out of the two movies that we were talking about today, the two main movies here, it's Monster Squad I grew up watching. So I kind of know that movie backwards and forwards, but I'd never seen Night of the Creeps.
See, I got these movies confused too. For whatever reason in my brain, I thought Night of the Creeps was the same as Fright Night.
Wow. Okay.
Which I've never seen, but I have.
Which I haven't seen the original, but I saw Fright Night, the newer crappy one.
With David Tennant.
And it was Tennant, and was it Colin Farrell? I think was in it.
Yeah. No, I like the original much better.
So I mean, I saw that, and also I had mentioned before with you guys that Monster Squad I thought was a remake of the 70s TV show that has nothing to do with it.
Huh.
So which the 70s TV show is like Ghostbusters or like Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I watched like an episode of it and I just didn't understand. It was just
exactly. So that's one of the reasons why I avoided the movie originally. I was like, oh, it's just going to be a crappy remake of this.
Wow.
So there's my background.
Yeah. How should we start? How should we start talking about these?
Well, I guess we'll kind of go around the table now that we have Alex's experience, how he kind of found out about these. I first saw these movies in probably the late 80s, early 90s. Specifically, I had HBO, Showtime, and Cinemax on my parents' satellite dish. And I remember, I think I was watching USA Up All Night. I think.
With Rhonda Shear.
which was beautiful. I mean, I miss the era of the like horror host, and I remember watching Night of the Creeps being really just fantastic. Like it had everything I wanted in a monster movie. It wasn't scary, but it looked cool. The characters were interesting, they were relatable, the girls were incredibly pretty, and it just was really fun. And I'd never seen a horror movie that was fun up to that point. I mean, the closest I could maybe compare it to in terms of fun might be Friday the 13th Part 6, which takes itself a little less seriously. Maybe Nightmare on Elm Street 3 and 4 in terms of fun. But even then I could make a case for them being serious movies. But so watching these, I was incredibly enamored, and I didn't know what they were called until I went to the video store in my local hometown, which I think was Gamma Video, or maybe it was Blockbuster at that time, before it was like a smaller chain that happened to be named Blockbuster, and then I got like kind of bought out. But I remember renting this with my girlfriend at the time, Ashley, showing it to her, and she's like, wow, they made movies like this? I'm like, I know, right? And it became like a perfect date movie. If I wanted to introduce a girl to horror movies, I'm like, it's scary, but it's fun. It's really tongue in cheek. It encapsulated to me what I felt the perfect B date movie was. And I just have so many good memories with both of these movies. Monster Squad, I remember clearly catching this on HBO because it was on endless reruns in like the mid 80s, and just being really taken by it. Again, I had never seen a movie where children were the heroes and were killing bad guys. I mean, I remember when the bad boy of the group takes his like bow and arrow and shoots one of Dracula's brides right through the chest, and he's like, I'm in the goddamn club, aren't I? Or killing the like creature from the Black Lagoon. He's like, my name is Horace, and he racks the slide on the shotgun. I just had never seen that before. Thinking, wow, kids can be heroes? That's so cool.
Because it's tongue in cheek, and it can be cheesy, but in the right way.
Yeah,
it's one of the first examples I've seen where somebody was purposely trying to make B movies, and they didn't suck.
Yeah, because there's such a love of the material there. He's treating it with respect, but he also wants you to have fun and let it be light without being too goofy and over the top, because it could have very easily veered into too stupid as to not be taken seriously.
Yeah.
But these kids were put in peril. You felt for them, especially when Dracula picks up Phoebe and is like, give me the amulet, you bitch. Or when, the mummy attacks them in the back of the Jeep, you get peril. And I thought that was so cool. And just fantastic special effects. I was watching Monster Squad last night in prep for this, and I just picked up so many little references. There's so many great character actors in it. Like, I recognize a lot of people who would go on to do Law and Order. I recognize somebody, I think, from Quentin Tarantino's 4 Rooms.
Do you want to start with the Night of the Creeps, since that was his first directorial movie, and sort of dig down deep into it?
Let's go to Aaron, and then we will talk about this.
So my overall about these things, like I said, I never saw Night of the Creeps. For whatever reason, it's probably all stems from a very early experience with Return of the Living Dead scarring my mind about zombies. For whatever reason. So I was terrified of anything with zombies in them for the longest time, and I just wouldn't watch it. And then, that's a completely other story that we can go into. But I would watch Monster Squad over and over and over and over again on HBO. And I loved it for many of the same reasons Mike just said. It's kids that are the heroes, that the movie is there. It's just a fun movie, but there actually is a serious undertone to it. And it's generally something that I don't see with a movie that you can laugh to, that suddenly there's a reference to the Holocaust in it, and how Scary German Guy actually does know what real monsters are. And you're kind of taken aback by that. Now, to me, that really stuck out just because of, my background. Obviously, I recognized that even as a little kid, what the tattoo on his arm was. And that kind of put a different level to the movie to me, and that's probably what made it stick in my mind a little more than most. But yeah, I've probably seen Monster Squad, 4 or 5 dozen times in my life, and I love it. I can't say that I show it to people and say, hey, this is my childhood in movies, because that would probably end up being like Star Trek 2 or something like that. But it's such a fun movie to show kids today, because I do foster care, and if you want to have a kid's maybe around 10 and they kind of want to watch a scary movie, but they don't want to watch a scary movie, okay, fine, we'll watch a movie that has some scary parts in it and it has monsters. But if you are going to get scared, you're not going to think that suddenly the monsters are there and they're too powerful and strong for you to be able to handle. Because look, here's the Monster Squad. There's kids younger than you and they can handle it. I don't know. So I love Monster Squad.
Yeah, like it's a fantastic film. So
let's talk about Monster Squad later. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So let's talk about Night of the Creeps. So Fred Dekker, this was his first movie he did. He wrote the script in like a week. And from what I've read, I don't think he went to film school either. He's like, I know what I'm doing.
Part of that shows the 1 week writing. There's a couple moments where it goes a little, like the plot moves a little too fast and then moves too slow. Michael.
Sorry.
Silent phones.
Yeah, I thought it was on silent. I'm sorry.
It's all good. At least it was a good song.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like, there's parts of that film where it feels like it's moving a little too fast. And then it's just like, wow. Because both of these movies are less than 90 minutes long. And after watching them, I can see why. Like you could have added scenes here and there, but they fit with the mindset of this is being played for children. Yet adults can like it too. But with Night of the Creeps, I like some of the special effects. Now that film, talk about being an homage to like other horror. That every character's name is based on a famous horror director.
And see, you know what's weird about that is I got the fact that there were horror references in it, but I didn't see the horror references as being the primary thing. I saw the B-movie sci-fi stuff from the 1950s and 60s as being the biggest homage in them. Even though I did see the horror stuff, it's just all the Plan 9 from outer space things that were in.
I totally, but me being the horror nerd as well as Michael, I'm assuming sitting there listening, I'm like, okay, so you've got the main characters' names are Romero, then James Carpenter,
Hooper,
Cronenberg, a big standout one, Cameron. So I guess because this would have been right after Aliens, right?
Yeah, Aliens and Terminator and Piranha 2: The Spawning. So
Landis, Raimi.
Yeah, like there's so many fun little nods.
Officer Craven. And there might even be a few more that were thrown in.
Yeah, I mean, like the idea for Night of the Creeps is there is an alien spaceship where someone has stolen some type of experiment and they jettison it into space while being chased. And there are these weird, fat, naked alien things. And they launch it towards Earth in the 1950s. And the movie starts off in black and white. And it plays very cheesy, very cheerful. Oh, golly gee, like, oh, he sure looks swell. And it starts with every possible urban legend cliche. Like, there's a there's a lunatic on the loose. He broke out from the insane asylum and he's got a fire axe.
I love that whole section of the movie, by the way.
Oh,
in black and white and so 1950s. It like oozed out of the TV. I freaking loved it.
Yeah, there's so many little smart moments like that, and it never feels like it's talking down to you with it. Like, it plays it straight. Although the credits are in color, everything else is in black and white. And then it turns out the experiments that were launched to Earth crash land, and this guy and this girl are out on this date. The guy goes to investigate, and one of the things that's inside this test tube is like a slug, and it jumps into his mouth and like turns his brain in the goop, and he turns into a zombie. And then the axe murderer kills or finds the girl who's in this car and kills him. And then hilarity ensues. And then the movie flashes forward to 1986 during typical college pledge week. And it plays sort of like your college comedy where there are these two losers. They want to pledge to some kind of a frat, and nobody will have them because they're losers. One of the guys is physically handicapped. I'd never seen that in a movie before. But he's funny, he's quippy, he's got a lot of charisma on screen, and he holds his own in the role. And then his friend is this mopey loser. He got dumped by another girl, and he's always looking for someone. Right? He wants to date somebody, but he's not sure who.
His acting was so bad.
I think he had some standout moments, but yeah, he's very hammy.
He's on the level of like Troll 2 level bad. Like but it works because everybody else is better, and if everybody else is better and then the main character's that bad, it kind of makes it more funny for me.
See, the only person I thought that stood out as being kind of like a lower caliber than everybody else was the police officer, the investigator.
Yeah, Tom Atkins.
Detective Landis,
Yeah.
Yeah, that character, the at least the 1980s version of him, the older version of him. I was like, okay, I really don't buy this guy. But everybody else seemed to be acting fine. I don't know. That's my opinion.
And then, so they basically, I hate using that transition. I'm going to actively try and stop that. The frat sends them on a prank to go steal a body. There happens to be a cryogenics lab on campus because why not? And they have the guy who had the slug jump in his mouth from 1955 on ice. So they steal the body. He thaws out, and I guess these creatures have been gestating inside him, and the corpse goes on a killing spree, and it infects a lab technician, and more hilarity ensues. And eventually more of these slug things get out into the campus community, and our two heroes, Romero and Cooper, is it? Hooper?
Yeah.
They eventually figure out something is terribly fucking wrong, and Detective Cameron, played by Tom Atkins, is like, this seems really, really familiar, but he's also very depressed. He's actually at one point he tries to kill himself, and he's about to kill himself, which
he's also not a good person.
No, he's terrible.
Yeah.
And
thrill me. I felt the script, like as much as you like that, Michael. That was very poorly written. That's
I love
all he
that.
says.
I love
that.
Thrill me.
I didn't think it worked very well.
His delivery was terrible. Almost every line. I'm sorry, Micah, for stepping on you, but
I think that's really what makes it, though, because you can tell he's having fun.
Is he, or is he just really poorly delivering his lines quickly to get through the movie?
I don't know, because in subsequent interviews and conversations people have had with him, as far to my knowledge anyway, he's like, I had fun doing this, and it's more serious.
He says as it's one of the only things he's known for that people will actually invite him to conventions and pay him money for.
Well, he also did Halloween Part 3.
He's not a good actor. He's been in a lot of horror movies, but he's not a good actor.
And I mean,
no.
Remember, his character also has the line, "Is this a homicide or a bad B movie?" Like, yeah,
I love that.
I'm not trying to downplay it. I'm saying this movie's fun.
Yeah.
But this is not acting gold.
No. Oh God, no. And I think that's another thing that I appreciate about it too, is it is campy and kind of cheesy, but it's not like trauma levels of bad. I don't know. There's just a lot here that works. Like the big climax of the movie is there's like some sort of like a big formal dancer event, and Romero goes back to his room expecting to find his roommate, but instead he finds a tape player, and I'd never seen this done before in a movie. And the tape player has like a piece of paper attached to it. It says, "Listen." And it turns out earlier in a previous scene, the slugs had trapped him in a bathroom, and because he's handicapped, he can't get away quickly. He falls down and he's on the ground without his crutches, and these creatures get in through your mouth. So one of the creatures crawls down his throat and infects him, but he manages to get back to the dorm to record this message to his friend. And he's like, I don't have a lot of time. Here is how you kill them. Heat kills them. Do anything you can.
It's interesting how he knew how to kill them all. Nobody else did. He also was the slowest person to turn.
Yeah, because he had the lighter.
It's because he was there for exposition's sake only.
Yeah, but it's something about that scene where he's delivering his lines where he's like, I can walk, but I have no heartbeat. I'm walking on my own. I don't need my crutches. And then he tells his friend, I'll never see you again, but I love you. And thank you for being my friend when nobody else would. And he goes to Detective Cameron's apartment where Cameron's got the gas turned on. He's got a gun to his head and he's ready to blow his brains out.
Well, it's not even that. Like first he arrived and you're like, oh great, he's drunk. He's not drunk. He's getting like the gas fumes are killing him.
Yeah. He's slowly kind of suffocating himself effectively.
Mm-hmm.
And I did like the best part of him is his delivery of this. Gets up and he's mad that he can't kill himself.
Yeah.
Son of a bitch. I have to turn off the stove. Now I got to go kill some zombies instead of killing myself.
Yeah. Now my plans are ruined. You sons of bitches. I'm going to make you pay. Yeah. He angrily goes into the kitchen and turns off the gas.
In that scene, the character of Romero comes and meets Cameron, and he comes to the door, and Romero is obviously upset, and he says they got alfalfa, and that was his nickname for that was Cameron's nickname for JC.
Yeah, well, would he have known that his nickname was alfalfa?
He gave it to him in a previous scene. Yeah, he called them Spanky and Alfalfa when he was interrogating them.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, so
in the weirdest interrogation I've ever seen, where they randomly have the witness with them.
Yeah, it was something. But yeah, and then it turns into your zombie thing, because what happens is the slugs get loose, because at one point it infects a dog and a cat. And a bus driver driving all the frat boys to go meet the sorority girls. The driver freaks out, swerves to miss the dog. The bus crashes. Bus gets infected because everybody on the bus is now dead. And the slugs take over the corpses of the zombies. And then Cameron and JC go to the police station. They're like, well, I'm trying to... They run into Dick Miller, which is great.
Who did Dick Miller play? Walt? Is it supposed to be like Walt Disney?
He's always like that guy who shows up in movies. I remember him mostly as Mr. Futterman from the Gremlins franchise.
He's in the Burbs. He's in the Burbs,
yeah.
And he's in
everything.
Yeah. He's in Chopping Mall.
Yes, he is.
Yes, and he's one of those guys that was like a character actor that made it all the way through like the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. I think he's still alive.
He died a couple years ago.
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh, he died last year. He was 90.
Yeah, and he kept working that entire time. Like, that man was a machine. So they go to the police weapons depot and like, so I need a flamethrower.
Yeah.
Oh,
you know what? Bring out the big stuff. I'm going to need the flamethrower. And his response is, okay.
Okay, I just need to get that requisition form that's been signed off on. Okay, I have to talk about the damn flamethrower for a moment. Because when this happened, this was, to me, the funniest part of the movie. One, because this isn't like a big town, right? This is kind of like a medium-sized college town. And for some reason, the police station, your local like cop shop in the 1980s, has a World War II Korea War era U.S. Army flamethrower just ready to be requisitioned by anyone, as long as the proper forms have been filled out, and it's ready to go. It's fueled up and ready to go.
And then his description of like, don't let the pilot light go out because it's a son of a bitch to start up again. And like behind him, there's full on assault military rifles, like all this crazy shit. And he doesn't even bat an eye that there's some kid hanging out with the cop in like the requisition area.
Yeah, he's just like, yep, that's some pretty fancy tuxedo you're wearing there, kid. You plan on going somewhere fun? And yeah, it's played completely straight. And I love that. Like I said, that's another scene in this movie that I utterly love. And then it gets into the kind of heavy combat where you see the zombies start to assault the sorority house. Some of the girls get turned into zombies. Like one of the girls gets infected from a cat that had lived there, and the slug jumps into her mouth and attacks Cameron. Pretty great special effect there on the cat puppet thing. One thing I didn't notice this until today, actually. I was watching it just before the show started today, and some of the zombies, they still have some of the stuff that they're wearing from the photos that were taken in a previous scene. There's one zombie, and I didn't notice this. He's holding a beer stein when he's getting his picture taken with a Polaroid. When he attacks Cronenberg and Romero, he's still holding the beer stein and trying to attack them. I'm thinking, okay, that's pretty clever.
Did you notice all the like the very, very interesting camera moves that they used in those last scenes too? Like there's like
when he has to shoot
camera,
when he has to shoot 3 people at once.
Yeah, like the camera
they do
around him.
Yeah, I love that.
What it made me think of, the way it was shot, was a movie we had to study in film class, which was that German film Run Lola Run. That whole movie, the constant movement, and it's constantly circling, just like that.
Yeah,
so I just kind of cool.
I thought I should bring that up just because I thought it was interesting. I thought it was really well done, well shot, and there's like a lot of the cliche kind of camera work, like the snap zoom to the infected girl or things like that. I mean, they're all kind of cliche, but they look really good.
Mm-hmm.
And I should mention, because nobody's talked about it, but Cynthia Cronenberg's character, like she is the biggest flirt beyond belief in this movie. like beyond, like, it was like she seems so out of place. She was flirting for no reason with almost everybody, and like her like just shock and awe at all the zombies happening, and with Romero just screaming at her, shoot them, flame them, burn them. She's like standing there doing nothing, and then finally they do. The way the slugs are, this movie is pretty much almost a carbon copy of David Cronenberg's first movie, called Shivers, or I think in the States it was called They Came From Within. It's about an apartment building where these slug creatures come in through the bathtubs and sinks, and they jump into your mouth, take over your brain, and turn you into a mindless zombie that kills people. And it shows you over the course of the movie how it infects this entire building.
Sure.
And the effects are very similar. And so that's obviously like where the slugs specifically come, and the way they split out of the head and everything.
Yeah,
that's very similar to Cronenberg stuff. And that movie was like 1970 or 71, or maybe it might have been like 72 or 73. So yeah, like I could see how that was influenced. And I was trying to pinpoint like all these different famous, directors that they named the characters after. There's almost a scene or so for each one of them where it replicates what was in their thing. The whole dog and cat being infected, that's clearly reference to The Thing, just the way it looked. There's some of the makeup when they turn into zombies is similar to how the Deadites look in Raimi's films.
Yep.
I saw some Dawn of the Dead, original Dawn of the Dead in the makeup as well.
True. Yeah, very true. And it was, I read that there was 2 endings to this, and we saw obviously the home video ending, the intended ending, but the original ending was going to be very cliched, where they she bends over and
she gets infected.
She bends over and the dog infects her or something. Yeah,
that's in the theatrical version. In the original, I'm actually just going to read this from Wikipedia. In the original theatrical rendering, the dog that caused the bus accident returns and approaches Cynthia. As Cynthia bends down towards it, the dog opens its mouth and a slug jumps out towards her. The original ending shows Chris and Cynthia standing in front of the burning sorority house with the camera moving to the street where police cars race towards the burning building. The police cars race by the charred and zombified Cameron, who's shuffling down the street still smoking a cigarette. when he stops suddenly, or when he suddenly stops and falls to the ground. His head then bursts open, and the slugs that were incubated inside his brain scamper out and slither towards a nearby cemetery, suggesting the slugs have found new hosts to inhabit. Searchlights appear from the night sky, revealing the source to be the spaceship from the beginning of the film, with the aliens intending to retrieve their experiment. This ending is featured on most home media releases and television broadcasts. And I know Fred Dekker said the original ending is the one that he intended. He's disowned the theatrical ending, which I like both. Both
I can
work
see why
for different reasons.
He clearly wanted it to open up new avenues for sequels that never happened,
or just to be something that kind of teases the imagination, which I think is actually kind of fun.
Instead of a supernatural horror, it truly is a sci-fi horror, even though it's not. Even though for most of the film you don't see it that way. Yeah,
it's a sci-fi horror with a good dose of comedy in it as well. And I think that's why this movie works. Now, there was a version of this released by Shout Factory a while ago, and it's got a bunch of new special features. There's a version that came out of this movie that comes with a little Tom Atkins action figure, which is made by NECA, which does amazing work on the Aliens franchise, Friday the 13th, really, really, really highly detailed figures. They're also doing a release of The Thing, and you get a little Keith David and a little Roddy Piper.
That would be cool.
So that's pretty
neat. You mean They Live?
They Live, yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Sorry, Roddy Piper with The Thing.
That's what I meant. So the next movie that Fred Dekker did, his second outing, was The Monster Squad. And The Monster Squad basically boils down to, what if the Goonies fought Dracula? And they fight Dracula, the Mummy, the Gill Man, Frankenstein, and the Wolf Man. And it answers the eternal question, which shall be forever debated by philosophers and scholars: does the Wolf Man indeed have nards? And the answer is yes.
They fought everybody in the Universal Monsters catalog except for the Phantom, Jekyll and Hyde,
and the Hunchback,
the Hunchback and the Invisible Man.
Yeah, so that's pretty kick-ass that they did that. And they also answered a question in the movie. They actually kind of foreshadow it. They're like, well, what happens if you blow the Wolfman up with dynamite?
Yeah,
they answer that. Yeah, they're like, he regenerates and his clothes are somehow mysteriously back.
Because, of course, you didn't kill him with silver. If you don't kill a werewolf with silver, he's not dead. So, yeah, you can blow him into tiny little bits. You can turn him into hamburger. He comes back. Which I thought was really cool as a kid.
And they tried to pretend that they were smarter than that older kid in grade 7, and they were wrong.
Yeah, and there's such a fun chemistry between the kids in this too, because the movie starts out, it happens in the 1800s, and it starts with this awesome and epically sounding text dialogue. Thanks for driving your X-Wing down my fucking road. And it says they fought evil, Van Helsing, and blah, 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 blah. They blew it. So you're in for something kind of fun there, and it shows Van Helsing and the Virgin trying to seal Dracula and his brides into limbo. It doesn't go so well. And it turns out in 100 years they can try again and to seal Dracula, but obviously Dracula needs this amulet because that's a way you can defeat him. And of course, so the movie starts out with these kids. They're in school. They're being disciplined because monsters aren't real. You should focus on science. And the teacher's just giving them shit.
He's trying to fit with them and, dig it and be coolio and everything.
Yeah, it's fucking stupid. And then turns out Dracula has mailed himself via World War II plane for some reason.
B-24
to the United States.
Yeah, it's a B-24.
So he's flying over to the States, and he's got Frankenstein with him, and he's somehow got the rest of the Universal Monsters catalog just hanging out in this one particular town and wherever USA. And through sheer coincidence, the lead character, Sean, his mom buys Van Helsing's diary at a garage sale. But they don't know how to read it, so they have to find somebody who speaks German. They then find Scary German Guy.
German Guy.
Which, love that guy. Great guy. I don't know if he ever did much more.
Scary German guy.
Yeah.
Let me take a look.
And that's how he's actually credited in the movie. Scary German guy.
He's a scary German guy. And I swear that he was in a lot of other things. Because I
Leonardo Cimino. So
he's in
Cimino.
Dune. He's in V.
Yeah. So scary German guy is really scary Italian guy.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Movies we would have seen him in.
Well, the original Dune.
Amityville 2, Dune, Monster Squad, Moonstruck, Seventh Sign. That's a good movie. Or
Yes.
well, at least a good B movie if I remember correctly. Freshman, Hudson Hawk. Hudson Hawk's a bad movie. Waterworld. There we go. Hannibal and Before the Devil Knows You're Dead. Final film role.
Yeah.
So he did that, and then it looks like he was one of those regulars that would appear on different TV shows back in the day. He was on. Oh, wait a minute. He was on V the miniseries. That's where I remember him from.
V the miniseries, yeah.
And doesn't he play on V the miniseries Holocaust survivor as well?
Yes.
And his whole thing was like he like warns the people. He's like, don't believe what they're saying.
Yeah, I've seen this kind of crap before.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Where's the scary German guy when we need him in 2020?
I know, right?
Yeah.
Well, the problem is scary German guy and those guys, they're all in their 90s or older now, right?
Well, yeah, he died back in 2012, the actor. But like I said at the beginning, scary German guy like connected with me at least as a kid, just because he was a Holocaust survivor, and I recognized exactly what that tattoo was because as a kid, I knew a lot of older people that actually had those tattoos still. There are not many of them around now, unfortunately, sadly, but as a kid, exactly what that was, at least for me. So that was scary enough right there. That made the movie
Absolutely
scary to me as a kid. But yeah, scary German guy, he knows German, and he's kind of like joking around with the kids a little bit, reading this Van Helsing's diary, because he thinks it's kind of silly because it's so over the top. Like, oh, look, it's 100 years tomorrow, and I don't know if he thinks it's a joke or not, but it's clearly like this old book, and the kids are taking it seriously. So he just kind of does. I don't know. I liked that he just kind of trusted the kids to make their own decisions with it. Yeah. Anyway.
So after that happens, Dracula is like, he resurrects Frankenstein with alligator clips. And he's like, you have to find the children. They have Van Helsing's diary. He knows, the book tells me where to find this amulet. If they don't cooperate with you, kill them. And there's a great scene, and it didn't click with me until like very, very, very recently, that when Frankenstein approaches Sean's sister, Phoebe, that is like the 1930s Frankenstein by the pond. And, if you're a horror fan, you're like, this is not going to end well for the kid. But it turns out so sweet that the little girl is able to tame the monster and says like, hey, you guys, he's friendly. He's not scary. Don't be chicken shit. God, I love that line.
Yeah, don't be little chicken shits. Yeah.
And it's just from there, they get Frankenstein to help them, realizing they got to stop Dracula. They got to find out where this amulet is. And they randomly find it at some house. And this is something that it didn't click until last night when I was watching this movie again. When they find the chamber in Dracula's lair, I guess, the room that the amulet is in is surrounded by crosses and garlic.
Yeah.
So Dracula can't even get near it, even if he wanted to. And great moment. Horace, the fat kid, that's what they call him in the movie, so I'm not being, body shaming.
No. I was watching it like back, I'm like, does he have a name? Oh, he does.
He fends off Dracula with a piece of pizza by burning his face with it.
That was cool.
Yeah, he's like, garlic.
I also love that they cast a kid who naturally had a lisp, and they didn't like try to make him pretend to have one.
Mm-hmm.
Like they casted like actual kids and not pretentious actor kids.
Yeah, like these kids felt very good together. I mean, they all had a chemistry that didn't feel overwhelming, didn't feel overpowering. One, like Sean was obviously the cool leader kid of the group, and then the other thing, I think the other kid's name was Rudy, the one in the leather jacket, who just wanted to go up to the treehouse to look at girls through their like telescope.
Yeah, that girl's your sister. Yeah.
So what?
And then remember, Frankenstein finds the picture first that he took, where because Frankenstein actually took that picture and started cursing at the camera by saying bogus, because he's learning 80s slang slowly but surely.
And Frankenstein, played by Tom Noonan, who
is Kane in RoboCop 2, if I'm not mistaken.
And it's from one of my favorite movies of all time, Last Action Hero.
He's the bad guy,
the Ripper guy.
I forgot about that.
Where remember when he gets pulled out into the real world, and they go to the premiere of the movie within the movie, and he shows up on the red carpet, and they're like, "Oh, Tom's here, Tom, and what are you going to do here tonight? What do you expect?" He goes, "I think I'd like to kill some people." And then he walks away, and then Tom the actor walks up, and they're like, "And we got Tom Noonan here." like that he was one of my favorite characters like all time in that movie. You've also got other character actors like in like the pilot at the beginning is David Preval, who is probably most known nowadays for playing a pretty pivotal role in The Sopranos for a season or so.
I thought I recognized him.
He plays the character that marries Janice, and then when he punches her in the face, she shoots him, and Tony has to roll him up on a carpet and get rid of him.
I forgot about that because I know him mostly from, I want to say, 4 Rooms, where I recognized him from, but that didn't click till just now. Yeah, you're right. Eventually, this all culminates in them fighting the monsters because they've got the amulet, they've got the book translated, they have a virgin, the girl, the one kid's sister, but she's not surprised because it doesn't count.
It was only with so and so, but that doesn't count because.
Yeah, I love that line of logic.
It doesn't count.
And then is she a virgin?
Yeah, is she a virgin? Yeah, virgin.
And then they're like, yes,
because it's like little.
But she can't read. It's like we'll figure that out. She just has to repeat what he says.
And there's this great action sequence which lasts about 20-25 minutes where they fight the Wolfman, they blow him up with dynamite, he reconnects into all these pieces, and then they shoot him dead with a silver bullet that Rudy made in class by melting down like charms and stuff.
Can I talk about like the classic 80s montage kind of in the middle of the film of them?
Fucking great song too. I found it last night.
Yes, it is amazing, but how pre-September 11th is this? That in shop class, Rudy is sitting there making steaks. He's making like crazy crap. He has like a mold for bullets and is melting it down in metal shop. And
I took shop in 2001, and we were doing stuff like that right around the time September 11th happened. We would make like knives and stuff and get away with it. But then I found out they cracked down real hard a year or two later.
But I mean, making bullets in school. Think about that.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, my question when he fired it was like, how did he get like the blasting cap and everything on there?
Maybe he found one of the kids' parents has like a
pistol or something
to reload.
But it was smart. Like watching it, I was like, why are they hanging out with a kid? Like these kids are all supposed to be like what, grade 4, maybe?
My guess would be they're less than grade 7.
Yeah.
More than
they're like
4.
they're like grade 5, maybe. They're like 10. They're like 10 years old.
Yeah, 10, 11 years old. Yeah.
Yeah, and then they're hanging out with this kid who's like 13.
Because he's the cool kid and he takes pity on them.
They said middle school, and I'm not sure what middle school in the States. Like here, middle school is grade 7 and 8.
Middle school,
but I know
mostly in the U.S. it's like 6 through 8.
Okay, so he looks older than grade 6, so he's supposed to be like grade 7.
Yeah.
I'm guessing like he's like 13. So I was like, why is he there? I'm like, oh, when that montage happens, like he's there because he's the only kid old enough and responsible enough to make the weapons.
And he does it well because I mean, the stuff that he makes is the things that like kill the bride, like Dracula's brides, and the Wolfman, who thanks him, which I thought again was an amazing touch. Like,
Yes.
the Wolfman doesn't want to be the Wolfman. This is a curse. And when he gets shot, he's glad to be dead. Like, thank you. And then keels over.
Quick story with this. This movie inspired me to do this. And as we mentioned, pre 9/11, I was in my shop class at my high school growing up. And I went in high school in the mid 90s to like early 2000s. But I had shop in like 99. I made wooden stakes and a cross because I thought, you never know, vampire. I also failed shop with a 22%, so that should tell you how effective I was.
22. Just for showing up, you get 40.
Let's just say I'm dumber than advertised when it comes to building things.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm dumb.
But you made the stakes, right?
Oh God, yeah.
So you were safe. Okay, so you were good.
Sharpen though. I mean, that's not that tough, right?
Yeah. The thing that got me kicked out of class is I was using the lathe and I didn't hold on to the board and it shot across the room.
Oh yeah, that would do it.
Yeah, they're like, Mike, get out. Okay.
Yeah, and then you became one of the stories the shop teacher tells forever.
Yep.
Only he slightly alters it to say that when that happened, a kid lost his spleen.
So there's, like I said, there's this wonderful fight sequence, and the guy in the Gillman suit is Tom Woodruff Jr., who has a connection to the Alien franchise.
So they went with like all the real names of those things, but I guess Gillman they had to go with because Universal probably copywrote the
I would
name
guess
of the creature.
But they
Yeah.
use,
Because
like the one guy, he's like, it's Eugene. Eugene's like, creature ate my Twinkie. He says throughout the movie, they call it creature. I guess just in the
because
credits they
he
have.
can call it that, I guess, but like as an official name, because all the other monsters are from like a public domain stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas creature was like written in the 50s, so that would have been so soon after that they probably couldn't just use it. But
Yeah.
it's clearly the creature, and they don't focus on it nearly as much, I guess, because of that.
But that suit is awesome. That's such an amazing prosthetic piece that they have on this guy. Like everything on the face moves, like the fins and all that. It really good.
Yeah, like it looks like a really good amphibian makeup. Like even the eyes look like an amphibian's. It looks like a giant frog.
And you almost forget that he's there because he's out of most of the movie.
Yeah, he's just there to get shot with he's the creature that dies the easiest, which I always thought was a huge disservice to him.
My name is Horace.
Yeah, I love that. That was awesome. And that the kid that actually played Horace, I think he grew up to become a lawyer in real life, and I think he died of the flu in the mid 2000s or something like that.
That's
I don't
rough.
think he's around anymore.
Oh man.
Like his bully is the kid from the older brother from Wonder Years.
Oh yeah. I'm
And-
actually just really going to quickly look that up.
Yeah, no, he died in 1997 of pneumonia in Las Vegas at the age of 22.
That's
holy
young.
wow. Dude, Horace, I did not know that.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Looking at a lot of the actors here, a lot of them are not even blue linked. So a lot of these people didn't do much, if anything else, after.
Which is so strange because this movie has such potential to be fantastic. And even the director, Fred Dekker, says the movie wasn't financially successful when it came out. It's found its audience as the years have moved on.
They could easily make sequels. You could and just follow other monsters or more contemporary ones. Looking at people in it, the guy who played Dracula, Duncan Rager, who we would probably know more. Michael, did you see? Remember the '90s Zorro TV show?
Vaguely.
He's Zorro, but he also appeared in a fair amount of other things. Like he's probably one of the more known people from it. Again,
Star Trek.
Another guy, Star Trek. He's also somebody who appeared in V. There's a few V connections here. I'm wondering if behind the scenes some of the producers or the casting director might have casted for V.
Maybe.
Because I'm looking up like even some of the other people involved, and there's at least 2 or 3 connections to V. You've got the main character or the main actor Andre Gower that played the main kid. I'm drawing a blank on his name now.
Sean.
But he appeared in, mostly TV shows. So for a lot of these actors, this was like their only mainstream feature film. And what I found interesting was I loved the dynamic between the detective father and his partner. It was like every 80s quippy cop banter, but like to the extreme. Like they can't say anything to each other without being sarcastic, and I loved it.
One of the things that I think this movie does well is it makes a good horror movie for children. It's an entertaining romp for those of us who can appreciate Universal horror movies. Now, there'll be a show coming out from me and Alex in just a couple days where we talk with James Rolfe, the angry video game nerd, when we talk about Universal monster movies. This movie made made the Universal catalog appealing to me, because I'd never seen any of these movies. I knew of these monsters, but I'd never seen them represented before seeing Dracula when I was like 5-6 years ago. The Monster Squad was my first experience to ever seeing a Frankenstein, to ever seeing a Wolfman, to see Dracula. And this is the iconic image I hold in my mind of these creatures, comes from Fred Dekker's movie. And there was talk of them doing a sequel to this. Like, they've approached Fred Dekker and Shane Black. I think it was Paramount had said they want to do something or reboot it. And I think if I'm remembering this right, he said no. Like, he said, but we would do a follow-up. But he then said, well, wouldn't we essentially be remaking it? Because kids fight monsters as kids, and then they grow up and fight monsters again. It's like, that's it. And they wanted to do a sequel to this or something after Stranger Things made it really, 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 really huge, which does make sense. And we talk about this.
This would be better as a TV show.
That they've talked about that too. They were like, if we could find a way to make a cool TV show out of this, then the idea is definitely there. Like, this is one of these things I think is evergreen, that you could remake it. And you could expand the monster catalog, especially with modern special effects, with companies starting to work together now to bring big monsters out. Like,
you could even set you wouldn't have to set it in the 80s. It could easily be set in modern day as well.
Yeah, and you don't have to have them fight just the Universal catalog. I mean, I'm not saying these guys are going to be fighting Jason and Freddy, because that's just out of their league. But you could have them fight other weird monsters or other type of
urban legends, boogeymen, that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
John Carpenter's The Thing. Holy crap! I mean, that would probably be way above their pay grade too. But let's be honest, that would be kind of a cool big bad.
Yeah, like there's so much potential here, and there's one final scene that I want to talk about here and this got me last night,
and I was laughing.
It kind of comes out of nowhere for me anyway. The little girl has befriended Frankenstein, and they've opened Limbo. Dracula's gone. Van Helsing has come back through the portal to drag Dracula to hell. And the portal is sucking everything in around it. And Frankenstein gets sucked in, and he's trying to crawl towards Phoebe. And Phoebe's crying, "Don't go, don't go." And the creature reaches out his hand, and they touch and they hold hands, and he says bye-bye, and he's flying towards Limbo, and the little girl throws her stuffed teddy bear at him, and he says, like, thank you, and then he goes to Limbo. And
Frankenstein's not an evil, like, the portal's supposed to hold people that are evil in Limbo. He's not an evil person. He never was.
No.
The evil part of him was Frankenstein the scientist doing what he did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
I don't understand why it was sucking everybody in but
maybe because it was made by evil hands.
But yeah, well, it sucked even some of the good cops and people in too.
Yeah, so generic portal physics, I guess.
Like, it would have to be a case of, you make another film or TV show and the portal opens and these things come out.
I think, like, honestly, if they brought Frankenstein back to be their heavy kind of hitter as a bruiser, I'd be okay with that.
That'd be
like
great.
There are a lot of shows and kids shows in the 90s that took its cues from this. There's that show that I sent you guys the Canadian Dracula show from 1990 that had a similar feel, where it's a team of kids trying to stop Dracula and his minions. Then weirdly enough, there were a lot of like Saturday morning shows, like Mike, remember Beetleborgs?
Yeah, oh yeah, totally, yeah.
The sort of adaptation of the Japanese crazy show,
Mm-hmm.
and that was a sort of Monster Squad per se, where except that all the monsters are helping the kids fight the other monsters, and they all had a similar tone, just obviously toned down for television, and not you're not going to see people blowing up, but Erie, Indiana, a lot of these shows have that similar feel.
Mm-hmm. Like,
so
I would think the people that wrote Stranger Things, I think they're called the Duffer Brothers. I would think. Right. I think they took a lot of DNA from Monster Squad and infused that in the Stranger Things.
Well, it's Monster Squad, Goonies, and Dungeons and Dragons, and E.T. And then they took a little bit of John Carpenter's The Thing when they made the Upside Down, and that's basically Stranger Things.
Yeah, like this movie is, in my opinion, a classic. And if it was remade, I would be okay with it because the original will always stand on its own. It's a great time capsule of the 1980s, showing off the technology, the slang, the attitude, and just it looks great.
Well, I can only think of two examples since 1987, since this came out, where it's been a mashup of classic monsters.
Okay.
You have the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, mm-hmm. which is similar vein, but it was classic literature characters.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have Van Helsing. In, what was that, 2004 or 5, something like that?
2004, I think.
And that one had the monster and it had Dracula and I mean it's not good. It's not a good film. It's a fun film.
I mean,
but I think we're due to have more of these classic monsters come back and have them in these mashup movies again.
Yeah, like there's a lot of DNA here that could be extracted to make something really fantastic and fun. And I would love to see Fred Dekker come back, maybe work with Shane Black again. I mean, the less we speak about the Predator movie, the better. But if him and Shane Black could revisit
that movie
this
was
property,
enjoyable for all. If you extract all the flaws on the back end, the movie was enjoyable. And looking at what Fred Dekker's done, like he tried to make a Godzilla movie back in the day, and it didn't get made. But he wrote House, which I think you and I saw, Michael. That was cool.
House is a great movie.
Oh yeah,
House 2 was pretty good. He apparently wrote 4 episodes of Tales from the Crypt and directed one of them. He wrote Ricochet, RoboCop 3. He uncredited as writing Demolition Man, so I'm assuming that might have been an initial script. But he tried to produce a Johnny Quest movie that didn't get made. Uncredited for writing Lethal Weapon 4, Titan AE. He wrote 4 episodes of Enterprise. Like, he's got a decent pedigree. He just hasn't really, like, other than 2 projects he wrote with Shane Black, he hasn't done anything in 20 years.
Yeah, and he took a really long hiatus to come back and do that. He did a pilot for Amazon called Edge with Shane Black, and then he came back to do The Predator. So I'd love to see him do more because I think he deserves another shot.
See,
I
will say I have seen his episodes of Enterprise, Fred Dekker's episodes of Enterprise, because obviously I've seen everything of Star Trek, but I really do like the things that he wrote in Enterprise. Andorian Incident is one of the best episodes in my opinion.
He wrote that one.
Yeah, where the Andorians actually show up, and they're well done. I mean, yeah, okay. Sure, you have Jeffrey Combs actually playing Shran, and of course, that actor can do no wrong.
Pink skin. And just... people will crap on Enterprise at the time. I still crap on the song, but they have not made costumes better than that, where the antenna move independently. And what gets me is in those episodes where they're in, if somebody is, let's say, they're talking in the main part of the screen, and if somebody gets off like a holodeck or walks behind them, the antenna will turn to sniff or listen to what's happening behind them while he's talking.
It tracks, and you can actually, if yes, you can tell their emotions as well by the antenna. You know how perky they are, or what's going on if they curve a certain way, and it's really well done because it's purposeful in each episode. Like, hey, if they curve this certain way, it means that they're irritated, even though their voice might not sound like it.
They have tells.
Yeah, they have tells, and it's fantastic. I don't know. Respect.
So even if he didn't contribute to that, but if he was part of that, then kudos to him.
Yeah.
Do you think Michael will have to do an episode sometime about RoboCop?
I would love to talk about the RoboCop franchise because, like, they are cheap, they are weirdly satirical, but they're entertaining. I would love to talk about Paul Verhoeven. I really would, because I love his stuff.
Can I make a suggestion though? Not do RoboCop 1 or 2 because it's been done to death, and we may have even done it years ago.
Probably.
I say we do 3. Section off, do 3 and the TV show because they're so intertwined.
Okay, that's definitely an idea. We will do that in the new year.
Half of the people in the world don't know that either of those exist.
Okay, so we will do that. So look forward to Loose Cannon in 2021, where we tackle Delta City and RoboCop, multiple RoboCops. It'll be fun.
It's Detroit.
Shut up. It's Delta City, goddammit. So we have had fun talking with you. So guys, let's give our kind of closing thoughts on these. Would you recommend these movies to seek out on DVD, Blu-ray, or streaming?
Yeah. Why wouldn't I? I mean, Night of the Creeps is really good. And if you're a B-movie fan of the 1950s, there's more than enough here to keep you entertained. And if you're a horror fan, again, there's more than enough here to keep you entertained. It's an honestly good movie. And then Monster Squad, yeah, come on. It's I would almost go so far as to say it shouldn't be remade because it's kind of lightning in a bottle. You can do something similar to it, but kind of like the original Ghostbusters, let's leave it alone. Or the Back to the Future franchise. Let's leave it alone. It's Monster Squad. It stands on its own. It's lightning in a bottle. It's fantastic.
I would say that Night of the Creeps is worth watching, buying if you're a big horror fan, but you should at least watch it, no matter what. Monster Squad, I say, even if you're not a horror fan, if you're an 80s or nostalgic cinema fan, it's worth buying. That's a Blu-ray buy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I think it runs pretty cheap right now. Now, as of this recording, I think these movies are both available to stream on Amazon Prime anywhere in the world. So please take advantage of that. And if you happen to see Fred Dekker at a convention when we can start going to conventions again, please express your thanks to him, because I think these movies are a fantastic time capsule. My thoughts on them, yeah, it's pretty clear that I love both of these movies. They are required holiday viewing for me when it comes to Halloween. There's been a lot of people I've shown these to over the years, be they just friends, girlfriends, and I've got good memories with them. And I'm glad that I got a chance to share a piece of my childhood and a little piece of cinema history with them.
Can I interject with one thing before we go, since we're recording this 10 days before Halloween?
Yes.
What are everyone's required Halloween watching really quickly? I mean, you just said like Monster Squad and Night of the Creeps. Totally down with that. What else?
If I had to pick one more, I would say, if I was going family friendly, Hocus Pocus, because you can show it to anybody and the movie's entertaining and fun and whimsical. But if I had to pick a more serious horror movie, it would be a split between Friday the 13th Part 6, because it is fun and weirdly entertaining. Plus, it's just a great Jason movie. It's the beginning of the Uber Jason. Or Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, where the series really found its goofier identity while still maintaining menace.
Oh, okay.
Mine are John Carpenter's The Thing, which is my favorite horror film of all time.
Yeah.
And Ernest Scared Stupid.
Really? Ernest Scared Stupid? Man. Wow.
Which we are doing a commentary on that before the Halloween.
Right. Yeah.
Wow. Cool. I mean, I haven't seen that in years. I would say I only really have one that I generally watch, and that's the original Night of the Living Dead. I think that just kind of stands above and beyond any other kind of horror, just because of the commentary that about society in the 1960s that it was trying to show. It's honestly scary. It's unsettling. The black and white really helps with making it feel, I don't know, just weird in your own mind. And then maybe if I want to get a little off center with it, I'll put on the 1991 remake of Night of the Living Dead.
Yes,
with
really
Patricia
good.
Tallman, because that's one of the few times that I'll say a remake is decent. It's not as good as the original, but it's decent. And I love Patricia Tallman in that movie, and it's still really scary.
And Tony Todd's awesome in that movie too. All right, so that is our picks for Halloween. Like I said, stay tuned for our commentary on Ernest Scared Stupid. Perhaps if we can figure this out, we'll extend the invitation to Aaron and get this all figured out, and we will get the technical.
It all depends on if we can sync ourselves up somehow online to do it.
So we will figure that out during this lovely pandemic era. It's Halloween every day, folks. So anyway, have a safe and happy Halloween, depending on when you are listening to this. Depending on where you are trick-or-treating this year, it's probably not happening due to local lockdowns, but just be safe, be smart, stay inside, listen to podcasts, watch movies with your friends if you can, if it's socially able to do so. But either way, have fun, have spooky fun, watch these movies. We recommend them. So until next time, starting in Kitchener, we have been
Alex, the producer,
going to Michigan,
Aaron Pollyea, and remember that Wolfman does have nards.
and I am Mike the Birdman saying, have a spooky Halloween, guys. We'll catch you again next time right here on ThisWeekInGeek.net.
Well, that's our show. All right, here's the deal. Every time you watch my show, I will send you $40.
Checks will not be honored.
You've been listening to This Week in Geek, your source for guaranteed nonsense or your money back. Tune in next week for more info on the most important things you didn't need to know. Check out our website at ThisWeekInGeek.net and subscribe to our podcast through iTunes or any podcatcher. If you'd like to comment on this episode, head over to this episode's post at ThisWeekInGeek.net and leave a comment through Facebook Connect. Follow us on Twitter at ThisWeekInGeek.net and follow our Instagram at twig_official_podcast. Social media not your thing? Send us an email at feedback@ThisWeekInGeek.net. We'll see you next time, and remember,
lower your shields and surrender your listenership.
Just when you think this show is terrible, something wonderful happens.
What?
It ends.
I have to go. Somewhere there is a crime happening.